Okay, so there is a right way to do this. It should be showing a reflection of a mammoth on this wall, is what it tells me. This is focusing the image. But I don't see shit. Boom. See, I knew that was something. Just let me select the stupid thing. Come on. Cool. Alexei Tukianov. Notes and sketches from the Frozen North. Ooh, I get to read again. I haven't done this in a while. April 15th, 47. I loaded my bags and provisions onto a sled and pulled by several sturdy, healthy beasts and left the Romansburg Monastery, heading northwards in search of the mysterious peoples inhabiting the vast, desolate wastes of the Siberian tundra. My superiors had conferred on me the mission of evangelizing, Jesus, literally, those pagan tribes from the heathen shamanic beliefs. I traveled under an assumed identity, that of a lowly trapper. I had to be wary of the agents of the state and of the military, for whom any religious activity is suspect. They, for their part, traveled the length and breadth of eastern Syberia, trying to convince the villagers of the debatable benefits of collectivism. It took me several weeks to accustom myself to the unfamiliar harness. I found no dogs in Romansburg and had to make do with Yuki's purchase from a hunter. Oh, that's a Yuki. It's so cute. Yuki. The Yuki is related to both seals and dogs. In the wild, the Yuki lives on the riverbanks. It is an easy capture for the trapper, as its gluttony is well documented. In winter, it gorges itself on orange salmon, a prey that it often has to share in the wild with the fierce Siberian bear, another creature very partial to the fish. Once tamed, the Yuki is an affectionate but whimsical animal. It resists all forms of disciplined training, and only if there are no dogs available is it used to pull sleds. Certain Arctic peoples, however, seem to have better mastered the secret of their domestication, and the Yuki is central to their daily activities. Of all the peoples who inhabit these god-forsaken regions, I find the Yukuls the most fascinating. Perhaps that is why I headed for those regions where I was most likely to encounter them. Their mask looks like an automaton. That's interesting. Representing the sole messenger who guides the dying to the other world, the Yukuls are fearful of him. The journey was long and dangerous. It wasn't until October 27, 47 that the first time I made contact with the Yukuls. I have spent long months living among them. I have come to know them and to understand them for who they are. I soon abandoned any notion of converting them. I applied myself instead to the study of their mores and customs. So little is known about the Yukuls, less than is known of any inhabitant of the frozen north. Today they live far, far away at the farthermost tip of the Siberian tundra. Because of their remoteness and their inhospitable climate, the Yukuls have remained small in number, overlooked by the scientific community and the Soviet governmental machine. The only documents available for my departure were several drawings, notes, and photographs taken 100 years ago by a Russian explorer, Marie Bojunov. It is to her we owe that what little is of the Yukul people and its culture. The Yukuls hark back to the last ice age. Curiously, traces of their presence have been found in Western Europe, more precisely in the heart of the French Alps, in the prehistoric caves of Vallée de l'Aisne. Oh, interesting. This suggests that over centuries they undertook a long migration toward the extreme north of the globe. The sacred harfang. This bird is often inseparable from the Yukul shaman. It seems to be considered in turns as his friend, representative, and even as his incarnation. Lemmings congregate on the open plains of Syberia. They feed on grains and small fruit that they store in their holes to face the scarcity of the winter months ahead. Lemmings dig deep tunnels in the ice to escape their predators. The hunters they most fear are harfangs. Seem to find lemming among them a delicacy. On several occasions during my journey, I encountered traces of Yukel society far to the west of the areas we know today. Along forest trails, I discovered small piles of carefully piled stones, altars on which Yukel hunters made ritual offerings to one of their pagan gods. We now know the reason for the Yukel's long migration. Their domestic economy was, it seems, directly linked to the mammoth. They used the mammoth for both transport and as beasts of burden, for meat, skin, fat, and ivory. It is beyond doubt that we are dealing with a genuine case of symbiosis between man and animal. The mammoths were forced north by changing climate conditions, and the Yukels followed. Okay, it's not really symbiotic if the mammoths aren't getting anything out of it. Yeah. I mean, unless they were totally domesticized, then that's a different story, but whatever. Some prehistoric cave drawings identified as being of Yukel origin have led the scientific community to conjecture that at one time the Yukels realized the incredible achievement of domesticating mammoths. There we go. They are, to our knowledge, the only prehistoric people to have represented a man astride a mammoth. Holy crap. Yukel life was thus intimately linked to that of their pachyderms. They used their hides for clothing and to build roofs, walls, and houses. They used their tusks to construct the frameworks of their dwellings and for weapons, tools, and jewelry. Curiously, the disappearance of the mammoth 12,000 years ago had no immediate impact on the Yukel's way of life. It seems that they were able to retain the strong link that tied them to mammoths throughout millennia. As incredible as it might seem, Yukels still feed on mammoth meat today and use mammoth hide for clothing and to roof their dwellings. Their craftsmanship of mammoth ivory is altogether remarkable. It appears that the Yukels have managed to retain their ancestral habits by using over the years the many frozen mammoth bodies that are perfectly preserved in the foreign Siberian wastes. They are said to have lived off this enormous pantry for more than 30 centuries. Wow. To do this, they have hollowed out a vast network of caves in the frozen ground, according to the intrepid explorer Marie Bojanoff. Yukel civilization has now gone underground. Oh my god. This keeps going. Well, I asked for it, so this is what I get. Socialists in the paleontology department of St. Petersburg have never credited Yukel myths and legends. However, the legend of the Siberian ice arc is typical of such folklore. It has long been considered a fable told by shaman in the evening to ward off the boredom of the long Siberian winter months. The legend tells that somewhere on a lost island to the north of the tundra, there still exist live mammoths, relics of the long-gone ice age. A tiny population that has been preserved for more than 12 centuries under Yukel care. The island of pachyderms inhabit is called Syberia. Hell yeah. To my notes, I add the tale of this legend as Marie Bojanoff related it in her memoirs. It agrees on all points with statements from Yukels I had the fortune to meet. Although this story constitutes no proof of the existence of the island of Syberia, it forms a tantalizing hypothesis. When fall arrives, the odor of its flower is so strong that it is known to awaken hibernating Yuki. Okay, so I'm going to need some of this crap later. Mixed with walrus blubber or tallow, the scarlet bramble is frequently used in Yukel medicine. The fumes released by burning it have considerable healing properties. Ah, okay. That's what I need. The shamans recount that the plant only grows on the tomb of the one whose soul is at peace. Wow. Lots going on here. Glad I read this whole thing through. At the end of the Ice Age, there were huge climatic changes. Much of the land was flooded by water. The sudden environmental variation put the existence of a number of animal species in danger, including the mammoths that inhabited the lands of the Siberian North at that time. The Yukels, a particularly advanced people for the age, set about the construction of the enormous ark like that of Noah, with the objective of preserving the mammoths, objects of religious devotion, from extinction. Oh my god, guys. The enormous craft was entirely constructed of mammoth tusks and was... Oh, Jesus, guys, come on. We gotta save all these mammoths. Kill all the mammoths and take their tusks away. That's how we do it. The enormous craft was entirely constructed of mammoth tusks and was loaded with a small herd of beasts and huge quantities of fur. The fate of the ship was entrusted to several particularly courageous members of the Yukel clan. Their mission was to lead the animals toward more welcoming climes. Once such lands were discovered, it was agreed that they would unload the animals and then come back to spread the tidings of their good fortune. It wasn't until... Oh, I'm sorry. I got the order of events wrong. I think this was after all the mammoths were gone. I don't know. It wasn't until 10 years later that the Ark returned to its starting place. The Ukals who had remained on the continent were surprised to find the ship empty, but for the perfectly preserved bodies of several mammoths in the ice that packed the bottom of the ship. They took this mysterious offering as a sign from the gods and ate the mammoths in a memorable feast. A week later, carried along by ocean currents, the Ark set sail again. Once more, it returned 10 years later with more foreign mammoths on board. The phenomenon continued for millennia. Every 10 years, the Ark would reappear, each time filled with immaculately preserved mammoths. What the hell's going on? The Ukals interpreted the phenomenon as an act of benevolence on the part of the souls of their congeners, I don't know what that word means, who had died during the Ark's first journey in some infernal maritime cataclysm. They made a religion of the Ark with its own rites and customs that was marked by the periodic appearance of the phantom ship and its precious cargo. For centuries, nothing seemed to affect the Ark's mysterious roundabout. One day, however, the Ark returned earlier than expected and empty. This was 100 years ago. The poor Ukals fell into deep despair. Everything they had believed in and had been the foundation of their culture since the dawn of time lost meaning. The most valiant tried hard to maintain hope, especially because the Ark still continued its peregrinations into the unknown, borne away into the seasonal ocean tides. But one morning the Ark refused to set sail. Many Ukals then left their village forever, trailing their despair across the tundra. Sometimes they can be encountered in the smoke-filled drinking holes of the last outpost of civilization. These poor sodden souls drown their befuddled minds in alcohol, recounting their unlikely mammoth tales to fellow alcoholics. This is consistent with some of the stuff I learned in the university. I believe we're going back to this, which is really cool. Really, really cool. I really wish I could get the professor and bring him over. He'd be stoked about this. Because he did mention that they had fallen into alcoholism. When the explorer Bodranov arrived among the Ukals, she noted the presence of what was once a ship. Only the Ukals could perceive the mythical craft of their legends beneath the layers of ice that had accumulated over centuries. She put forward the hypothesis that the accumulated ice had eventually doubled the volume of the Ark and rendered it incapable of negotiating the dangers posed by floating ice in the Arctic flow. I, Alexei Tukinov, can confirm that the observations of this audacious adventure are true. The Ark that leads to the Isle of Syberia is indeed real, and even if I have not found the formal proof, I am convinced of this isle's existence and that remnants of a mammoth population may still live there today. Whew. That was extremely cool. I liked reading that. All right. That was satisfying. Now I have much to do. Alright, I'm going to play for 10 more minutes. That'll bring me to 3 hours for the morning, which is my longest playthrough yet so far. In one sitting, anyway. See if this guy has anything to say about any of the stuff I just learned.
Hello, Father.
Hello, my child.
Nope.
Hello, Father.
Hello.